Former Congressman Michael McNulty will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Please remain standing for our opening prayer led by Ed Nestler.
Almighty God, you are the source of our life, strength, and purpose. In your presence alone, we find help, hope, and life. Guide us during this hour of fellowship and reflection to be grounded with the healing reminder of your love to all whose lives we touch this day. For it is in your glory we gather together and offer our prayers. Amen.
Please be seated. Good morning. I'm Tim Forbes, the chairman of the Rensselaer County Honor Deceased Veteran Committee. We've gathered here this morning to honor deceased Rensselaer County veteran for the month of December, and that veteran is Kenneth M. Wilson. We're honored to have with us this morning his family, Karen Wilson, his daughter, Diane Wilson-Nass, his daughter, Keith Wilson, a son, Noreen Wilson, daughter-in-law, Zachary Wilson, grandson, Alexandra Wilson, granddaughter, Sandy DeGregorian, family friend, Gerald Maloney, nephew. Thank you all for being here. Also with us today to honor our Veteran of the Month is the Rensselaer County Executive, Steve McLaughlin, representing Congresswoman Elise Stefanik Reed-Cronus, representing Congressman Paul Tonko, Manikalaya, former Congressman Michael McNulty, New York State Senator Jake Ashby, New York State Assemblyman Scott Bendet, our Rensselaer County Legislative Chairwoman, Kelly Hoffman, our Vice Chairman, Robert Loveridge, our District Attorney, Mary Pat Donnelly, our Sheriff, Kyle Burgalt, the Commander of the Watervliet Arsenal, Colonel Schultz. Also with us, legislators Dan Casal, Mark Fleming, Tom Grant, Dave Fleming, Lori Kennedy, Carol Weaver. As we are all well aware, Memorial Day and Veterans Day are special days to remember our veterans. This program was created to help us honor our veterans all year round. To us here in Rensselaer County, every day is Veterans Day. The Rensselaer County Honor a Deceased Veteran Program represents veterans organizations throughout the entire county. This includes members of the American Legion, the Disabled American Veterans, the Veterans of Lansingburg, the Military Order of Purple Heart, the Marine Corps League, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the Korean War Veterans, Tri-County Council Vietnam-era Veterans, Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, the Vietnam Veterans of America, AMVETS, Crabb Garrison Post 1954, and our own Rensselaer County Veterans Service Agency. I will now ask Kelly Hoffman, our Rensselaer County Legislative Chairman, to come forward and tell us about our honored veteran for the month of November, Kenneth M. Wilson.
Good morning, everyone. And I would just like to clarify our friend Dave Fleming has not joined the legislature, but he is our Nassau supervisor, although I'm sure you'd like to join some of us every once in a while, Dave, so thank you for being here. And thank you to all of our veterans. I am Kelly Hoffman. I'm the chair of the Rensselaer County Legislature, and it is an honor for all of you to join us here today at our monthly Honor of Vets ceremony. As you know, yesterday we observed Veterans Day all across our great country. There were many solemn ceremonies here in the county because Rensselaer County will never forget the service of our selfless and dedicated veterans. I would like to take a minute just to welcome Chris Albert as our new Director of Veteran Services. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for your service. You'll see Chris a little bit more here involved in the ceremonies in the next few months. But today is a day that we gather to honor Kenneth Wilson, a distinguished member of our community and a true American hero. Ken was born on October 8, 1921 in Dobbs Ferry, New York, to Harold and Frances Wilson. Alongside his brother Harold and his sisters, Miriam, Dorothy, Gertrude, Harriet, and Peggy, Kenneth grew up surrounded by family and strong values. The Wilson family later moved right here to East Greenbush, where Ken attended Van Rensselaer High School. On February 6, 1942, Kenneth answered the call to serve his country, enlisting in the United States Army in Albany. After 4 months of basic infantry training, he was sent to the African theater, where he was a heavy machine gunner and courageously fought in several key battles. On December 9, 1943, Kenneth was injured in the African theater, but that did not stop him. He went on to serve in the European theater, and during his years of service, participated in the Naples, Foggia, Rome, Arno, Southern France, and Rhineland campaigns. Kenneth's valor and dedication were recognized with the European African Middle Eastern Service Medal, the Good Conduct Medal, a Purple Heart with oak leaf cluster, and a World War II Victory Medal. After the war, Ken returned home and began a new chapter with his wife, Mary Cornell, who he married on his birthday on October 8, 1949. Together, they built a family that included their sons Keith, daughters Karen and Diane, 4 beloved grandchildren, Gregory, Laura, Zachary, and Alexandra. In his civilian life, Ken contributed to his community through his work at Norman Skill Dairy and the United States Post Office, retiring in 1984. His love for his community extended beyond work. Ken was an avid camper, gardener, and reader, and he dedicated countless hours to a program here in East Greenbush, the Youth Baseball and Softball Leagues. He was active in East Greenbush Little League in Babe Ruth and was a volunteer coordinator of the East Greenbush Girls Softball and Little League for more than 25 years. Ken also enjoyed spending time with his fellow veterans at Melvin Rhodes American Legion and East Greenbush VFW, and serving as a member of the Elks. Sadly, Ken passed away on November 30th, 1995, at the age of 74. Today, we honor Ken Wilson not only for his bravery in his service to his country, but for the positive impact that he had on our community and the lives that he touched. Together, we celebrate his legacy of dedication, kindness, and service to his country and to his community. I would like to thank Ken's family and friends for allowing us to honor him here today, and want to thank especially all of the veterans who are here with us today for your dedication and your service to a grateful nation. Thank you. I'd now like to invite Legislator Tom Grant to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Kelly. It's always a pleasure to see the Wilson family. Welcome, and thanks once again for allowing us to honor your father and relative in this manner. Mr. Wilson contributed mightily to the town of East Greenbush. As Kelly outlined, he was very active in sporting events, sporting activities in the town of East Greenbush. He spent much time on the fields, both for men's and women's baseball and softball. He had quite a following among the people in East Greenbush. And much of the work that's been done in East Greenbush on the fields, particularly Winnie Field, would not have happened without his guidance and advice over the years. God bless him, and God bless all of you for being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly. My voice hasn't improved much over the last month or so, but I'm going to give it a try. Can you hear me back there? Okay. I want to thank Kent for his service. He was a machine gunner in his division, went through a lot during World War II in Europe. I want to mention why we're talking about machine gunners. We had one of our honor vets up there, a Medal of Honor winner, was a doctor, and he was the 105th Infantry when they were hit by the Japanese during World War II with a banzai attack. And he was in the aid station when the Japanese came in. He killed a couple of them in the aid station. And then he went outside, and the machine gunner out there, and they were killed. So he manned the machine gun. And when he got done, they found him dead. But he had 123 Japanese soldiers laying alongside of him. And he was wounded 23 times. So a machine gunner got a very important job. And I'm sure Ken had that same thing. And I want to thank the family for being here today and be part of our Hall of Heroes. Thank you.
Colonel Walsh has, over the past couple of months, been struggling with his voice, but he's dedicated to being here every month to make sure that the families know of the dedication that we have and his commitment. And a lot of the ceremonies and things that we've done here, in addition to Congressman McNulty, Colonel Walsh has been steadfast and a huge supporter of our veterans, and we just want to say thank you, Tom, for your service as well.
Get a paper cut and put it, you know, right? I stub my toe. Yes, I think you got 2 It was amazing you didn't get killed. It was right up front. Good kill. Well, that's thanks so much. Take care of the kids.
Thank you all. I want to take a step back. I failed to recognize Rensselaer County Court Judge Deborah Young also. We appreciate everything she does for us. I will now ask Rensselaer County Executive Steve McLaughlin to come forward.
Thank you, Tim. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, as Kelly mentioned, just want to mention our new Veterans Services Director, Chris Albert. He's going to do a great job for us. We'll take the training wheels off him next month, and he'll be up here, I think, doing some of this as well. But he's going to do a great job for us here in the county. We're glad to have him join us. But to Karen, Keith, and Diane, thank you for letting us honor Ken. I mean, when you read that bio, that's pretty amazing. That is Band of Brothers, World War II stuff. I mean, he goes to Africa and gets hurt, and then what he went through in Europe was amazing in a 3-year time span. That is unbelievable that he got home alive. Pretty incredible to read through that bio. We see a lot of bios every month. We see one bio every month, and sometimes it's a bio like this, which is just incredible amount of action. Other times it's someone that just served in a different capacity, but every one of them is just as important as the other person, no matter what their role was in securing the world back then. Truly the greatest generation. So, and then interesting, as we see so often, he just came home and picked up a normal life and focused on raising his family and helping kids with all that coaching. So I think he was probably enjoying the heck out of that. Those times coaching. Reminds me of my dad a little bit. He was also in World War II, toward the tail end in Japan, and then he was a postal carrier as well. So I grew up in that kind of a household. My mom ended up being a postmaster. So I do know what it's like growing up in a postal household. They took a lot of pride in being letter carriers and how important the mail was. And I do remember not eating my food one day and giving us the typical, there's kids starving in Africa. And I said, well, you work for the post office, you can mail it to them. That didn't go over well, but that's what I said to my mailman dad. But what an amazing life he led. We're certainly blessed to have had him here. The kids of this county and East Greenbush especially are blessed to have somebody like Ken working on their behalf. And the reason he was and so many others were over there defending was so that those kids would grow up and have a better life. And they did, as we've often said about that generation, they just simply saved the world at that time. So amazing. It's great to be here just right after. It's a special, this ceremony is always special every month, but maybe takes on a little bit more poignancy when it's Memorial Day and Veterans Day, right after those. So that park you see out front is dedicated to all of our veterans. That's why we put that there, to honor every one of our service members and show that in Rensselaer County, we never forget, and every day is Veterans Day. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve. I will now ask Reed Cronus from Congresswoman Elise Stefanik's office and Manik Ilaya from Congressman Paul Tonko's office to come forward.
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, I want to first extend our deepest gratitude to the Wilson family for allowing us to honor Kenneth today, to the county and the Veteran Services Agency for putting these events on every single month, and to all the veterans present today, thank you very much for your service. As has been mentioned, yesterday we celebrated Veterans Day, which is one day to recognize the sacrifices of our military veterans, but every day we should remember that the freedoms we enjoy are a direct result of the courage and dedication of those who served. And Kenneth is a shining example of just that. Like so many of his peers, he enlisted right after high school, answering the call to defend our country in foreign lands. He fought in key campaigns with honor, and like many others, as Steve already mentioned, he came back and he got to work, starting a family as well as a career. It's because of individuals like Kenneth that we are able to live in freedom today. On behalf of Congresswoman Stefanik, I'm honored to present a U.S. flag that has been flown over the Capitol in coordination with Representative Tonko's office, as well as a proclamation of recognizing his remarkable life that will be submitted into the congressional record. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'll now ask New York State Senator Jake Ashby to come forward.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's great to be with all of you. I want to thank the county executive, my colleagues in state, local, and federal government, Colonel Schultz, Congressman McNulty for being here, and congratulations to retired First Sergeant Albert. I know you're going to do a great job with this, Chris. And thank you to the family for letting us honor Ken today. And what a remarkable life of service. But the county executive and I were talking about it a little earlier. You know, when he landed in Italy, in Salerno in September, and then a little over a year later, he was in Germany. That's roughly 840 miles of continuous fighting for about 15 months as a machine gunner. It's remarkable. It's remarkable that he survived that, and that not only he survived, that he led during that time, and when he came back, he continued to lead and pass down those traditions and that life of service to future generations. And 46 years of marriage as well. 46 years of marriage after experiencing unbelievable fighting through the ETO during that time. I can't imagine that. I don't think many of us in my generation, I think in other generations that are with us, can imagine the scale of what was going on during that time. And for a young 20-year-old to be in that position and then come back, live the life that he did, and set that example. That is something as veterans, as just future generations, we should all aspire to. And it's what makes them the greatest generation. So on behalf of the New York State Senate, I do have a proclamation here for you. Thank you so much for letting us honor him today.
Thank you, Jake. I will now ask New York State Assemblyman Scott Bendet to come forward.
What a life and what a commitment to service. Kenneth's service mirrors my grandfather's. And when I was reading through his bio, it was really amazing. And as Senator Ashby said, to be in combat for over a year, traveling over 800 miles is just remarkable. And then to come home, just an ordinary person, going to war and doing some extraordinary things, and then coming back to live his life and being a pillar of his community. makes us all very proud and makes us all very grateful for the opportunity to honor him today, as well as the other veterans that are going to be on the Hall of Heroes in Rensselaer County. On behalf of myself and my colleague John McDonald, who is your representative, I have a citation here from the New York State Assembly. On behalf of all 19.5 million people in our state, we wanted to make sure that he was honored today. Thank you again for letting us do that. And then I'll just say one thing, as I said to the congressman today. The congressman always said something that really moved a lot of us. And what he says is when he wakes up in the morning and he puts his feet on the ground, he thanks God for his life. And then he thanks veterans for his way of life. And so I think that's very powerful, and I think that's really a tribute to Ken. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. I'll now ask Colonel Schultz, the commander of the Waterville Arsenal, to come forward.
So hey, good morning, everyone, ladies, gentlemen, and to the family of Ken Wilson. Hey, thank you for letting me be here today as we recognize his service. It's noteworthy to me that he enlisted almost immediately right after Pearl Harbor. I mean, it was pretty quick. And, you know, there's a lot of sayings you'll hear people say that we develop a sense of service in people. I would argue that sense of service was there, and he acted on it immediately. It makes me recall something that George Patton once said, and that is, the soldier is the army. No army is better than its soldiers. And the soldier is also a citizen. I'll come back to that in a minute. In fact, the highest obligation and privilege of citizenship is that of bearing arms for one's country. And Kenneth definitely decided to do that. And I'll echo what Jake said. He was a machine gunner. And if you know anything about light infantry or infantry tactics, one of the first things you target is the machine gun because it's a high casualty producing weapon. And you can see that he was targeted. You know, a Purple Heart with an oak leaf cluster means he got 2 of them. So he was injured and then chose to return to the fight. It says a lot about the domineering spirit that he must have had. When we look at the campaigns, you know, he only missed 2, and I would assume those probably were due to injury or you know, that's wounds. I'll go back to that. When we think about people like Mr. Wilson, I'll recall again, when we think of citizenship and the life that he lived, George Washington, and I'll say this, is quoted as saying, "When we assume the soldier, we did not lay aside the citizen, and we shall most sincerely rejoice with you in the happy hour when the establishment of American liberty on the most firm and solid foundations shall enable us to return to our private stations." And so he returned home, where he coached, obviously, softball and baseball, and served in the post office. And that's noteworthy because a lot of times we can tend to overlook that, you know, those type of jobs and so forth. But our civil servants are foundational to our nation, and they really enable us to execute what we would describe as the social contract between the government, our representatives that are elected, and the people. And so it's good that we take this moment so that we're not taking granted for the very things that deserve our gratitude. A life of service, and it's an honor to be here with you today as we recognize, you know, Corporal Wilson and all the things that he provided. We have a couple of small things on behalf of the men and women of Waterville Arsenal, and again, thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Will Joe Simonak from the Rensselaer County Honor Deceased Veteran Committee please come and present the plaque? Committee members, please rise. Thank you, Joe. Please stand for our closing prayer.
Day is done, gone the sun. From the lake, the hill, and the sky, all is well. God of compassion, dignity, and strength, watch over this veteran and his family. Bless him and grant his family comfort and everlasting peace. Amen.
Amen.
Retire the colors. And salute. Two. This concludes our Honor of Vet ceremony for this month. Thank you for coming to honor our deceased veteran of the month of November, Kenneth M. Wilson. Please join us for our next Honor of Veteran ceremony scheduled for December 9th, when we will honor Warren J. Winnie Sr. Before we go our separate ways, we're going to take a few family photos, then reassemble out at the county flagpole to raise the flag in Kenneth's honor. Thank you all again.